The Knowledge Valorisation platform connects players in Europe with ambition.
Hello there! Do you also find that the research results are slow to reach the market? Should benefit citizens better? Should we turn into more solutions to tackle climate change and other challenges? The EU Knowledge Valorisation platform is there to change that. Have a look and exchange with like-minded people across Europe to make it happen. Share your best example of a valorization practice and get visibility. Be inspired by what others are doing. Join a community to tackle specific issues. Find advice and guidelines. Take part in workshops and events like the EU Knowledge Valorization Week. Keep up with latest developments and background studies. There is much for you to discover on the EU Knowledge Valorization platform. Join us!
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the very last day of the Innovation Week, which today is focused on skills and will give you the opportunity to follow a very interesting trainings on IP and intellectual property rights, which is an area which is very close to my heart because I'm Claudia Martinez Felix. I'm the Deputy Head of Unit in DG GO in the European Commission, the directorate that follows policy industries and legal framework on SMEs, on industry, and as responsible of the unit of the intangible economy, we've been making lots of developments in the area of IP legal framework that I will be very happy to give you a small flower as we go ahead. Intellectual property is a key driver for economic growth as it can help companies, researchers, designers and startups to gain value from their intangible assets. And today, with brands, designs, patents and data in today's knowledge economy are getting a much more bigger momentum because if we look at the numbers on the evolution, we can see that IP-intensive industries have accounted for almost half of EU GDP and over 90% of EU all exports abroad. Also important, the amount of direct employment that IP intensive industries are generating in Europe. And this is why it's very important that we get the legal framework governing IP fit for purpose. You may have heard that yesterday, following the IP World Day, which this year focused on women and IP, the Commission has adopted a very important package in the area of patents. My Deputy Director General, Mave Rute, already mentioned it yesterday. And this is an important package because it will complement a very important development that will also happen on the 1st of June, which is the entry into force of the unitary patent, which has been a phenomenon waiting for more than decades and which will also create a specialized court for patents, for the unitary patent. What we are introducing with this package is basically three pillars. It's legislation focusing on the standard essential patents to generate fair access to new technologies, notably, and more transparency. And we will also be introducing a second legislation for ensuring that the Union has the ability to react very quickly when emergencies are triggered, and so that we can produce products that are essential despite patent holders not giving their consent. So we are granting the Union the possibility to launch compulsory licensing. We are also introducing a third element of the package, which is a reform of the top-up protection that we give to industries in the area of pharma and also on plant protection products to ensure that what we call supplementary protection certificates, that is this extension of the protection of the patent for those industries, can be given in a much faster, centralized manner and can also be created under the context of the new unitary SPC. So these are important developments that we are introducing in the field of patent, and that will make sure and guarantee that we are one step further in completing the single market for patents. Introducing changes that I have just mentioned will lead to a regime with less red tape, faster and more centralized procedures, guaranteeing fair access to key technologies during particularly emergency situations, and setting also global standards, because that's part of what we foresee as impact from the patent package that we have just presented. Now, we're not only focusing on patents, and as you will hear today, designs are also very important IP, right? And we are currently modernizing our rules for designs to ensure that you, as researchers, as startups, can actually make use of a better design protection with new, let's say, more affordable protection rights, but also design right that is fit for the digital age. And let me also give you the news about not only reforming what exists in terms of IP legal framework, but also introducing a new legislation in the area, which is creating a new IP right in the area of craft and industrial products, which is the so-called geographical indications for this type of products, which the geographical indication protection already existed for agricultural and food products. You may know champagne. And now finally, and that is hopefully by 2025, be also at your disposal for craft and industrial products. Now, all this is to tell you that this work we're doing from the Commission side to put our legal framework right in place is of no use, of course, if there is no investment, if there is no research, if there is no development of new creations. And this is where we are really calling on you to keep on developing these new innovations that will also help us reach our very ambitious goals in the green transition. And make sure that when you are generating new content, new creations, you get fully support from the different services that the Commission has been rolling out. And I'm talking here about, for example, the SME fund that we are offering together with the EU IPO, the agency in Alicante, and which is, of course, a fantastic service that you can make use if, for example, you are not certain what type of right you need to protect your innovation. So make sure you use, for example, the IP scan. We're also having financial assistance for example, covering registration cost of designs, trademarks, and since yesterday as well, also open for European patents. And I think this is very important development. Make sure also that when you have questions on how these IP rights are actually being, protected in Europe, but also abroad in third countries, that you make use of the health services, which are being rolled out, set up by the Commission since many years, and which will certainly also be of use if you need them. Then finally, I think a last call from my side to encourage you to continue doing all the education and research that you are obviously already doing with today's training, notably as it has been highlighted by the Code of Practice on the intangible assets for the knowledge for the knowledge valorization. And with this, I want to already close my first introductory remarks by introducing you the next training that will be given by the EPO by Mr. Berlanga Perez, and which is focusing on this very important IP right, which is patents. So research, think patents. Over to you, Mr. Berlanga, and wishing you all a very nice day. Thank you.
Yes. Good morning. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today taking part in one of these sessions of the Knowledge Valorisation Week. My presentation today is to show you the benefits of patents. My name is Juan Birlanga. I've been examiner in the EPO for the last 18 years. I've been working in all different procedures of the patent granting process. And this presentation will be interesting to anybody working in innovation. And the aim is to give a basic introduction to what is a patent, why we need patents, and how patents can be used to create value. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is my agenda for my training today. There will be a first part, getting to know patents, and it's this introduction to intellectual property rights, patents, to understand what is the patent, what are the requirements for obtaining a patent in Europe, and the role of patents and relevance to protect and promote innovation. And then the second part is about a real-life case study about how patents and IP rights in general, they can be used by researchers to their advantage to improve the business. Let's go to the next slide, please. So, as an introduction, patents and intellectual property rights, for those with no previous knowledge or experience, they can look like a very abstract and legal term, difficult to understand. So nevertheless, if we look around, we see IP rights everywhere, and they're widely used by companies, researchers, engineers, scientists, product developers, designers. So IP rights are used as a tool to protect all kinds of creations and ideas. But how do we do this? For example, let's have a look to this mobile phone you see on the slide, where we can see their creations and ideas in such a device. First, we have all the technology know-how created by the company producing the device or by any of the suppliers. It would be impossible to count them, but we have connectors, circuits, batteries, antennas, sensors, data processing methods, chemical compounds that make this device work. So all these technologies make the device going to do this technical function. These technical elements are not the only creations provided in such a device. The outer appearance of the phone, that we also know as the design, plays as well a very important role. The design of this device will influence the decision of customers when they will be selecting the device. For example, my daughter, she chose her phone according to how cool it looked, and she didn't care about the technical elements of the phone. There is also a lot of software to make this device work. We also have the graphics, the user interfaces, the apps, the sounds. We can also recognize here all the ideas and creations done for creating an external impact of the device and the company. A relationship with the customers is created by using web pages, brands, giving a name to the device, photograph, etc. So as you can imagine, for creating all this knowledge, the company has incurred in a lot of cost of time, money, and they would like to get it back. And here's where the IP rights will play a crucial role. Knowledge of any kind, being technical, artistic, ideas in general, they are intangible resources that can be easily copied. Knowledge doesn't have a physical presence, that's why it is considered an intangible resource. The consequence of being an intangible resource is that it is considered as a public good, which are defined by the two characteristics of non-rivalry and non-excludability. So this means that consumption of knowledge and know-how leads to no subtractions from any other's consumption. So if its knowledge is available and I use it, that doesn't mean that nobody else can use it. So, and therefore, because this can be copied, we need the IP rights. In order to avoid that other companies can and simply copy the creations of the inventor, IP rights, they provide an opportunity to protect the knowledge created and recoup the cost. By protecting the creation with IP rights and creating ownership over the knowledge, the owner will decide who can use the knowledge protected by the IP rights. Next slide, please. So a system of IP rights has been developed throughout the years in order to help innovators to protect their creations and provide ownership over them. As we have seen for the example of the phone, depending on the type of creation, there will be different IP rights available. For example, we have copyrights, which are available to the expressions of ideas, not to the idea itself. Copyright protected work includes literary, dramatic, musical, artistic works, and it's also important for the protection of scientific articles or computer programs. Another important type of IP rights are the trademarks. Trademarks will be used by companies to distinguish themselves from other companies. And the aim of a company is that customers will identify the quality and services they provide with the company name and logos. The designs, and we will hear about them later, are used to protect external appearance of a product. It will protect mainly the aesthetic aspects of an article. And then when companies don't want to share the knowledge, they can always use the trade secrets. Trade secrets can enjoy unlimited life as long as they remain secret. This has been example, for example, with Coca-Cola for more than 100 years. And then we have the patents that they will exist for 20 years. Very important IP rights are patents, which is the focus of my presentation today. Patents are used to protect technical inventions, and in order to obtain a patent, an application should be filed at a patent office. Can we go to the next slide, please? So the basic principles for patents is that patents are used to protect inventions in all fields of technology. We say that patents, they provide a technical solution to a technical problem. That's the idea of a patent. Formally speaking, a patent is a legal title which grants the holder the exclusive right to prevent others from making, using, or offering for sale, selling, or importing a product that infringes his or her patent without authorization. And this is very important because patents do not provide a right to use a product, but they do provide a right to prevent others from using it. So if you are the owner of the patent, what you can do is you can prevent others from using what you have patented. It is very important as well, the principle of territoriality. A patent will be valid only in those countries where it has been validated. This is a very important aspect to consider when applying for a patent because you have to see where you want to develop your business. Patents are valid for a limited period of 20 years from the date of filing. And also important when applying for a patent is that there are some limitations and exceptions. Not everything is patentable. For example, computer programs, they have a special way of being patented, or medical methods in Europe are not patentable. Let's go to the next slide, please. So patents, the basic idea is that they are considered as a contract between the applicant and the society. The owner of the patent will benefit in that third parties, they won't be able to use the invention without authorization. And then society will benefit from the results of the invention by having new products available. And also by having access to the information from the patents. One of the requirements of patents to be granted is that the invention is described in a detailed manner. In this way, scientists, engineers, or any researcher, inventor, can use the existing inventions to further improve them. The patent offices, they provide access to all this information via high-quality databases. And these contracts tries to find a balance between the interests of the society and the patent owners. Next slide, please. Some general characteristics of the patent system that derive from what I've already explained before. So the patent system enables patent holders to recoup the investments in research and development of new products. As mentioned, this can be very costly, and the patent system tries to compensate this. There is a lot of information in patents and patent application. Even if a patent is not granted, an important step is the publication of the patent application, such that this information will be always available to the public. The patents promote innovation, since companies will be motivated to innovate given the advantages that it has got for them, this system. It will be used to avoid unnecessary R&D activities of the company, that they will use the patent information to understand the current status of a given technology. The patents can be used to provide a third party to use the invention, so agreements between companies are common, having the patents as the basis for these agreements. And innovators frequently, they use patents to look for investments. Having a patent is seen by investors as a potential to generate income. Next slide. So in Europe, we can obtain patent protection using 3 different routes. The first one we would call the national route. In this case, the applicant will go to each of the countries, the patent office of the countries where they want the patent, and file an application there. There will be an independent separate procedure in each of the patent offices. We have then the European route. In this case, there will be one single application, which can be filed in German, English, or French, and everything will be done by the EPO, the European Patent Office. In this case, there are 39 countries for which the European patent is valid, 1 extension state and 4 validation states. Once the European patent is obtained, then the procedure will be to go to all these countries where the patent is desired and validate the patent there. And finally, we'll have as well the international route. In this case, it is the WIPO competent for this. We have 2 phases. We have the international phase and the regional phase. In the international phase, one of the international recognized offices will perform the first part, normally the search plus an opinion, and then the work done by this in this international phase is going to be recognized by the regional offices. So it is a very convenient procedure for those applicants with a worldwide interest for the product and services. Next slide, please. Here we can see all the 39 European member states for which a European patent can be obtained. There are more than the European Union. There's also this extension state, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and 4 validation states, the Republic of Moldova, Morocco, Tunisia, and Cambodia. Next slide, please. So as I said, today, once granted, the European patent only exists as a bundle of national patents. Then it has to be validated and maintained individually in each country where it takes effect. This can be very complex and costly. And similarly, European patent has to be enforced before the national courts, and this leads to fragmentation that results in high cost and complexity. The European patent system that will start soon will eliminate these shortcomings. In this case, the EPO will act as a one-stop shop for the administration of the unitary patents, for obtaining, maintaining, and managing them. It will enable applicants to obtain uniform and broad territorial protection in their participating member states. And then we also have the Unified Patent Court, would be a common court for the participating member states. There are 24 member states which have signed the agreement on the Unified Patent Court. Initially, the ones that have ratified it will be 17. So at the beginning, there will be 17 states for which the unitary patent will be valid, the ones you see in the dark blue. So let's go to the next slide, please. So for making the business in Europe, the European route is very, very attractive. And it simplifies the whole procedure by having a single filing, an examination, and a grant procedure. Patents in Europe are granted under the European Patent Convention, which establishes all the legal requirements for obtaining a patent at the European Patent Office. Under the EPC, the patents are granted for inventions in all fields of technology. Basic criteria, and very important, are novelty, inventive step, and industrially applicable. Novelty means that the invention to which the patent refers was not available to the public before the filing. So you're the first one to bring this invention. And the inventive step is a criteria that is used to avoid that things that are new are not patentable if it would be something expected to be done by an expert in the field when doing the normal work. So the intention is to grant imaginative inventions that bring something more than not just what any expert in the technical field would do doing the normal work. The inventions in patents are defined by the claims, and these claims, they can refer to products, to apparatus, to a process, to a use. It can be a physical entity or also an activity. This is also very important to think about when filing an application, because this would be for what you will have protection afterwards. The next slide, please. There are certain exclusions defined under the EPC. The EPC defines the ones you see on the slide, like mathematical methods, computer programs, as not being inventions. The practice is that these categories, the features in these categories, are considered as non-technical features. And outside these categories, they are seen as technical features. So a claim will be completely excluded if it contains only non-technical features. For example, if you have a claim in a method for performing mathematical steps A and B, this claim will contain only mathematical method steps, so it is excluded from patentability. In order to overcome this, it is necessary to have a technical feature. So as soon as there is one technical feature, like if we say a claim being a computer-performed method for performing mathematical steps A and B using a computer, because now the computer with a technical feature is there, the exclusion is avoided. So these mixed type claims allow to overcome the previous objection, and then we analyze this claim with respect to novelty and inventive step as other claims. There is a very specific way to do it, which is not the purpose of the presentation today, but at least the exclusion objection is overcome. Next slide, please. There are other types of exceptions that whenever they are present in a claim, this means that this type of claims won't be patentable. For example, for plant or animal varieties, inventions whose commercial exploitation would be contrary to order public or morality, or the medical methods, those claims are not patentable under the EPC. Next slide, please. So under the EPC, the procedure to follow for granting the patents is the following. So the applicant will come to the EPO for obtaining a patent that at the end will have to be validated in those countries selected, or go nowadays for the unitary patent. The first step will be the filing. It is very important that all the requirements, the very formal as fees and information, are met so that you can get the filing date. This filing date is very important for the assessment afterwards of the patentability, because it's the one that's going to be used for checking novelty and inventive step to be compared to other documents. It's very important for an applicant to see that before they have filed the application, they have not done any publication of a research paper, or they have presented it at any conference. So filing date is very, very important. The next step is the search. The EPO has highly qualified examiners specialized in all fields of technology that will perform a search of the invention defined by the patent application. And they will provide a search report with all those publications which are relevant to the invention. Then, based on the result of search report, the applicant can decide to continue or not to the next to the phase of the examination. During the examination phase, there are conversations between the applicant and the examiner, and at the end, this will lead to the grant of the European patent. After the grant, as we said, the patent will have to be validated in the selected countries, but this is managed by the independent patent offices, or in the case of unitary patent, will be done from the 1st of June by the EPO. After the grant, centralized post-grant procedures are also available. Third parties which are not happy with the grant of a patent can challenge the validity of these patents, and then they can file an opposition. Once an opposition has been filed, the outcome can be that the patent is revoked, so it never existed. The patent is maintained in an amended form, so in a limited way, or the opposition is rejected. Important in the procedure as well is the access of the third parties to the information. Therefore, the application, the patent, and even after opposition, if it's changed, the patent again, they will be published so that third parties cannot have access to the information in the patent. I'm seeing now a question in the slide, so I think maybe I can reply to it. I will read the question out. What should I consider when deciding if opting for a national or international patent? It refers to one of the previous slides. I think it's well, it depends how many countries where you intend to have business. So if you would only go to one or two, then the international phase would not make much sense. I mean, the PCT route makes sense for those applicants that they want to have the products worldwide. If you want to have it in a smaller region, being Europe, then you should go to the European phase and not go to the international patent. And by the way, it doesn't exist an international patent. What you can have is international procedure, but at the end, only national patents exist. And there's also another question, why aren't all member states participating in the unitary patent? Well, I think this is a decision that each of the countries has considered. I think more and more countries are entering the unitary patent. It's a matter of time, and probably with time, it is foreseen that all the member states will become part of the unitary patent, but it will come with time. Can we go to the next slide, please? So as we have seen, the information contained in the patent documents is very important and useful to the public. Here you can see the first page of a patent application and what information is to be seen on a patent. So we have the title, the name of the inventor, the applicant, proprietor, classification of the technical field. This is how different technical fields, they are divided in classes, so it's possible to access them. We have the filing date, the publication date. There's a description containing a detailed description of the invention. As explained as part of the social contract, one of the conditions for obtaining a patent is that the information related to the invention is shared. Therefore, there will be examples on how to obtain the invention, and normally this is accompanied by drawings as well. The patent documents will always have claims. The claims provide a precise definition of the scope of protection of the patent. When assessing novelty and inventive step, and later for a possible infringement, it will be the claims defining the scope of protection, and these are going to be the ones compared to any possible infringement. There's also an abstract that provides a summary of the invention. Next slide, please. So all this information, the patent information, is very important information. Not only when an inventor wants to file a new application for an invention, but in all phases of the innovation cycle. In the creation and commercialization of a new product, we can distinguish different phases. We have a first phase of research, then there's a second phase of development and prototyping, and a third phase of commercialization. In all these phases, as you can see in the slide, patent information can be very useful. Patent information will help to perform prior art analysis to see what is known already, market analysis, so you can study trends and new technologies, and infringement analysis to see if we are infringing or somebody could be infringing our patent. With patent information, the companies, they can identify new trends in a technology, they can avoid infringement, they can avoid duplication of R&D, and they can also identify partners for example, licensing, making business with them. So patent information will support decision-making at all stages of innovation and will make business more successful. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so this will be the first, the last one for my first part. So I would like to summarize with these 5 important points. So patents help to protect technical inventions. The patent system provides for a balance of interest between the patent holders and the public. As I said, there are 3 different routes to patent protection in Europe. In Europe, we have the national, the European, and the international route. There are legal requirements for patenting inventions. The most important ones are novelty and inventive step. We have some exceptions and exclusions. And last point, also very important, patent information can be very valuable in all phases of the innovation process. I see another question here. It is unitary EU patent applicable only for SMEs or also applicable for the academic organizations? The unitary patent is available to any applicant. Not just to, there's no distinction. It's the same as currently any legal person can be an applicant for the patent. This doesn't change. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so as I have said, the second part of my presentation is a story to show how patents and IP can be used for the benefit of the business. So this is about the Swedish startup Oxion. My presentation is based on a technology transfer case published by the EPO, which the authors are Bob Van Heijden and Caroline Pam. It is a very detailed and comprehensive paper. It explains the story of Oxion, which is a very good example for using patents. And Oxion was recognized as in Sweden as the fastest growing company in 2010, based on an academic research at the Chalmers University of Technology in Gothenburg. Dr. Cocker developed a new weaving technology. The aim of Dr. Cocker was to develop a new weaving technique for obtaining stronger and thinner composite material with reduced weight. So he developed this new 3D fabric forming technique that was the basis for the foundation of the startup Oxion in 2003. Let's go to the next slide, please. So in this picture, you can see the new carbon fabric and the advantages in relation to conventional carbon fabric. It is lighter, it is thinner, can support higher strengths, so this will allow to reduce the weight of composite products. So it seems to be, or it looks like it's going to be very good. And given its properties, the material nowadays is used in many different types of applications. Nevertheless, when Dr. Cocker invented the new product, it was not so evident where they could use it or where they should focus their use, where they should make all the investments. So one of the first things he did was to look for investment to file a patent application, and he obtained this from business angels. With the patent protection, with the patent application being filed, Dr. Coker and his partner from the business angels, they presented in 2001 the new technology at the Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship for looking for further investments and for developing a business plan. In 2003, Oxyon was created with financial capital from different investors. The management team was comprised by Dr. Coker and 2 students that were at the Chalmers School of Entrepreneurship. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the business model is based on selling the product instead of selling the machine. They started at the beginning selling the manufacturing machine because was the invention, in fact, was this machine. But then after some dialogues with the potential customers, they realized that it was better to sell the material and not the machine. And in this way, they could keep always control on the product. And then together with the input from the partners, they could further develop the technology. With the patent protection, they could provide proof to potential customers that the technology was commercially viable. At that time, they had to think about different markets where the material could be used. Different markets that nowadays the material is used are sports material. You can find this material in hockey sticks, in boats, in bicycles, in skis. It's also used in industrial applications and also in the aerospace industry. To offer the product in different markets was a very good idea because, for example, the sports equipment is a market that allows a lot of experimentation and innovation and allow them to start selling fast the product. So they easily, once they have something new, they could start selling it. While the aerospace industry, because there are very strict regulations, was seen as a long-term plan. This sector was seen as a long-term plan because first they have to fulfill all the regulations, but because it was a very big market, they could get a lot of benefits from it. So by having these 2 markets available, they increased the possibilities. And because they had started at the beginning selling the machinery, they thought of also adopting this for licensing. So what they did, they licensed the use of the machinery to companies that were going to create their own product with this machinery, but would not compete with them. Can we go to the next slide? So, and let's have a look to the patent strategy and how they have used IP in order to grow and improve. It was very important that they always went for a broad patent protections. They always combined process, methods, fabric, material, structure. And this was very important because at the beginning, they didn't know on what was going to be based the business. So in this way, by having the possibilities of the machinery and the material, they could support the business selection by the patent protection. They always listen to their clients and they apply for patents according to their needs. They did not simply rely on the first technology, but they applied for further patents based on what the clients have asked them. Dr. Coker has been always very actively involved in the patent portfolio. He studies databases, he has a look to patent information, to see what competitors are doing, and he's even co-drafting because he's the one having the technical knowledge. He's also involved in the drafting and replying to patent offices. They always have a look to see what they need, what the customers need, and what also the potential licenses need. With respect to the territoriality, because they wanted to have worldwide markets, they have filed application in Europe, Asia, US, Canada, and that's why they have used the PCT route. And they have used the patents in a defensive way to avoid that any competitor will enter the market. They also have used it for going against an infringer in Germany, where they won the case. And in addition to the patents, they also have used other types of IP rights. Oxeon sells and develops the material under the trademark of Tickstream. Especially in markets of the sports equipment, it's very important to be visible and contribute to brand recognition. And some processes that they are difficult to reverse engineer, they have decided to keep it as trade secrets. In this figure, you can see the different European patents they have. And also there's a timeline to see different IP-related milestones throughout the years. We see that the first patent was filed in 1997 and the last one in 2008. You can also see that recently one of the products has been used in NASA Mars helicopter. So this is really a success. And this has been the story of the successful company Oxeon. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if you're interested, I would suggest that you go to the EPO website and have a look to further cases of valuable use of IP in companies. And we also have the training catalog where you can have a look to further information on IP and anything related to patents and intellectual property rights. And of course, you can follow us on our social media to get to know about patents and IP. I think now I would like to thank you. And if you have any questions, I can reply to them now. So let's see. There's a last question here. Is it correct that in examination of a patent, relevant scientific articles are examined? So a researcher should not rush to publish a paper first. Yes, very important point. As I've mentioned with the filing date, you will get a filing date, and in the way we examine patent applications, this is considered the day when you have done your invention. So to see what we call the prior art, we see everything that was filed available to the public before this filing date, meaning that if you would have filed any paper before this date, this paper, even if you are the same author, could be used as prior art for your application, and it will anticipate your invention, and therefore you would not be able to get patent protection for this because this information was available to the public before the filing date. So never publish a paper before filing if you intend to file a patent application before the patent application. Good. How much it costs to obtain and to maintain a European patent? Okay, that's a tricky question. Okay, the thing, I can tell you to obtain a European patent, what the cost that you will have to pay for the filing, search, examination at the EPO are around 6,000, 7,000 euros. But then you have to add as well the cost of the patent attorneys. You have to add as well any possible validation in the different countries. Then you have, from the third year on, you need to pay the fees for maintaining the patent during the 20 years. So it can go to 20,000, 30,000. So, but it depends on the business you're going to do. So at DPO, it's this 6,000 euros you will have to pay. Any further question? But with respect to the patents, I would advise you to go to the EPO website and check there. The fees is well explained how much it will cost to obtain a European patent. Okay, so I don't think there's any further questions. So I would like to thank you for your attention today. And don't go away, because we will continue with the second presentation of the day. Georg Scherer is the coordinator of the European IP Help Desk, will provide now a very interesting insight on the challenges that exist in IP in collaborative R&D projects. Thank you very much.